Good morning, players. Let me give you my analysis of shiny, happy people. Y'all need to grab your tea or your coffee and have a seat, honey, because there is a lot to unpack. So as we all know, on Friday, Amazon released their bombshell of a documentary, Shiny Happy People, subtitled Duggar Family Secrets. It was about the Duggars and also about the IBLP, the Institute of Basic Life Principles by Bill Gothard. During this documentary, we learned a lot about the IBLP, the Institute of Basic Life Principles, which was led by this guy, Bill Gothard. Now, what really stood out to me was the fact that Bill Gothard preaches that to be closer to God, you need to have as many children as God would allow with your wife. However, he is not married himself and he never had any children. He says you need to keep your quiver full. However, his quiver is empty. He has no children. He was also removed from the IBLP because there was accusations swirling that he had taken advantage of some of the ladies in the IBLP. There was actually some similar allegations against his own brother. I believe his name was Stephen Gothard. And Bill was so desperate to have his brother work with the IBLP that he wanted his brother to be married off to one of the ladies that he had allegedly essayed or SH'd. So this is the umbrella of authority that Bill Gothard created. Basically, Christ at the head, the husband, and then the wife who manage the children and the home. Once a woman gets married, she is basically under the authority of her husband, and she is to have as many children as God would allow. You need to keep that quiver full. But the responsibility of rearing those children is solely on the mother, at least until the children are up in age to do the buddy system, in which the child is passed off to one of the older kids within the family. They also beat and spank these children relentlessly. It starts when they're 6 months old. They do something called blanket training, where they put a toy on a blanket within reach of that 6-month-old. And if that child tries to get that toy or something that they like, they hit the child. And they can do this all day.
So lean over here right now. Jason, you're a fine boy. You're going to grow up to be an outstanding man. God's hand was on your life, son. Now, okay, let's see.
He resisted every bit of training I tried to give him. And when he was about 14 months old, I just didn't know what to do with him. And he was really shaming his mother. And I would spank that child all day long.
IBLP has training centers throughout the world, and a lot of those are allegedly government funded. Actually, a goal of theirs, and in some ways they have succeeded to infiltrate the government to spread their teachings.
Kind of the best and the brightest of the Christian homeschool movement to assume positions of power and influence in government and in the law. The goal was Christian homeschool graduates who would be U.S. senators, who would be U.S. presidents, and most importantly, who would be U.S. Supreme Court justices, in order to bring America back to its rightful position as a truly Christian nation.
A lot of these children that grew up within the IBLP have infiltrated the government, and one of those is Madison Cawthorn, Meathead Maddie. They call it the Joshua generation, and of course we know Joshua Duggar is a part of it as well. Now in this documentary, they say that Meathead Maddie, Madison Cawthorn, was one of the stars of the IBLP. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep it a stack with you. If Meathead Maddie is your shining star, then I know it must be pretty dark where you at. I declare, honey. Not Sir Hump-a-Lot. They talked about the IBLP's political ambitions and how one of their biggest donors was David Green, who is the CEO of Hobby Lobby. They also talked about Mike Huckabee, who was the former governor of Arkansas. He's also the father of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who is the current governor of Arkansas. Whenever he found out the things about Josh Duggar, he reportedly said that Josh Duggar was a teenager. The girls were almost teenagers. In biblical times, they could have been married. The only reason the liberals are attacking Josh is because he has been a faithful warrior against the perversion of homosexuality.
When the Duggars came out and a son had molested their child, you more or less said that you felt sorry for the parents.
Now, let me tell you something. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know that family, and I do.
I also heard from Amy Duggar King, who is the niece of Jim Bob Duggar and also the daughter of Jim Bob, Jill Duggar Dillard. From Amy, we learned that Jill was actually the one that fought Josh back when he tried to touch her when she was a child. Also from Amy, we learned that Michelle and Jim Bob called the spankings of the children encouragement. Now, Jill was not comfortable with talking about the situation with her brother Josh Duggar, which is completely understandable, but she did let us know something about her situation with her dad, Jim Bob. Now, some of this we already knew, but Jill went into detail about how she was never paid for either of those reality shows. None of the Kids and Counting shows or the one that bared her name, Jill and Jessa Counting On, was actually forced to film the birth of her first child. She signed a contract on her wedding day. She didn't know what it was, and it basically said that all of the money went to the father, Jim Bob. After she married Derek, she tried to refuse some things on the show, and they told her, hey, you got to do what you got to do. After some pressure from Jill and her husband, Derek, Jim Bob did offer to pay them. However, he wanted to pay them $10 an hour, although according to the contract he was being paid $850,000 a season. And also, which is so very sad, Derek doesn't believe that it was voluntary that Jill did that Megyn Kelly. In fact, she regrets that she did the Megyn Kelly hour where she basically spoke up for Josh. Now, like I told you, Bill Gothard, which was the leader of the IBLP, has been removed from leadership. Now, they don't know for a fact, but they believe that Jim Bob and Michelle have taken over the IBLP. Overall, it was a good documentary. We didn't learn a whole lot about the Duggars, but in my opinion, we learned enough to make us feel deceived, honey. I feel cheated. All right, players, put your thoughts in the comments. Have you watched it? Will you be watching it? And what did you think if you have? This is Double D Mo.